Okay, so I've been building my city now properly for around a year, and this isn't my first city. I've had smaller ones, but this is the biggest one I have yet. And in today's video, I just want to give my kind of tips and kind of things to help you make your city better, and things that I'm going to do as well to my city to make it as good as I can, but also make it my own. So, my first tip is create greenery, like have kind of plants and trees, even like a mini park in your city. So it's not all just buildings, you have a bit of a quiet place. Most cities have parks because it creates kind of, obviously it brings up greenery, it gives a different kind of viewpoint for you to look at, and it's just like a nice peaceful area of the city. Now I haven't built like a park at the moment. I do have my promenade, which has some trees, and a lot of the kind of modular buildings have lots of greenery as well. But it is good just to maybe just make a part of your city that's just a park. It's a good way of kind of doing it, and it makes it look 100% more better and gives different areas for you to look at. So that is tip number one. Tip number two is create height in your city. Now, this could be something as drastic as elevating one part of your table up higher, which is what I'm going to be doing over at my theme park. My theme park's going to be about that high, so it's going to be quite a bit taller than this first layer, and it kind of gives you another viewpoint, and it also allows you to kind of build other stuff onto it. You have space for underneath, but it also has kind of a space for you to build your own stuff, like build a mountain or build a road going up. So it's another way of creating another look point at your city almost. So right now on my city, it's all on one layer. So you have different viewpoints such as the Daily Bugle and the roller coaster, but it is all on one layer. But once we have another layer, it gives two different viewpoints, and it also means that to see underneath this bit, you're gonna have to come around here and you can see more of that area as well. So it's another kind of good way of doing that. And another way you can create height in your city is simply by using Lego like this. This is a very small height difference, but once it's complete, it's actually going to look quite, it's not going to look massively taller. Like this isn't going to look massively lower than the rest of it, but it will create a little bit of height because we have people kind of going downstairs to get into the beach, and you've got a wall and kind of blocks off that area, so it does create a little bit of height, even if it is literally just a mill's plate height. But it is another good way of creating height. Now, my next tip is something that I do want to work on a lot more, and I'm starting to do it with my promenade and with my hospital, but I want to add more mocks and more custom stuff. So, custom stuff is a really good way of making your city your own because you have created those things. No other city will have that exact thing in their city, so it makes something your own, and it's a really nice way of, like I said, making your city your own. But it's also good to have things like modulars because modulars are incredible looking sets, and it's good to have sets in your city, but it's also good of having mocks, and it's kind of building two different things and having mocks and sets in your city to make them better. So, yeah, my kind of tip three, I guess, is having sets but also having mocks. They could be as small as a promenade or even smaller than that, like I said, with a park, or it could be as big as a building or a couple of buildings. I want to have a few buildings that are my own creation. I'm starting off with the hospital because I sort of had a plan for that and I sort of knew what I wanted to do with that. And obviously, it's very much work in progress. So I've added in the things that, like the construction area and stuff, to kind of make it look like it's being built. And that actually goes to one of my tips at the end. But yeah, so having mocks, but having mocks, but also having sets is a really good way of making your city your own. Having modulars kind of makes your city bigger and more substantial, but having mocks makes your city your own. So it's a good way of having both of them. I do recommend trying to add both of them in. Now, tip number two is use your space wisely. Try and make as much space as you can. Now, if you have a very small area, I used to have just like a table. What I used to do is have as many buildings as I can on it and try not to have as much road because road took up a lot of space. And this is why I think the new road plates are really good because they're only 16 wide, meaning they are half the amount of the old road plates. And obviously a lot of people like me are doing the Mills plates, which are really good. um, but you can just have them like that, so you still have a road but you can fit in more modulars into your city in a smaller space, or having more sets in your city if you don't have modulars. So it's a really good way of doing that. And that is one of the best ways of creating space, is by limiting some areas, but you can have more areas. Now, I've actually done this in my city with the roads, where this area here with the assembly square and the sanctum at the front doesn't have any road plates, so I could add in my train, but also have a lot more buildings because I knew that my road plates would actually have to be that width of both of them to fit across, meaning they're going to have to move and some sort of things are going to have to go, so I can't fit it because I can't fit it in anymore. And I kind of knew that, so that's why I've put them there. And it also creates a nice pedestrian area for the city where no cars are going to be. So I'm super happy with how that's kind of turned out. But it is a good way of creating space because it's nice having cars on roads for your city, but I do think the buildings look better, and I think it's always better to prioritize buildings than the roads. But yeah, just kind of creating space and having as much space in your city and making sure you're using that space to its max. So like my city now is pretty much full. Obviously I've got loads of like wood stuff everywhere, but that's just because I need to build onto it. But everywhere is full, and I've tried to put in more stuff, but I just basically cannot fit it in. Could probably fit something in there, but that's like the only place I can really fit stuff in. So my next plan is obviously elevating this up, like I've said, so I can have more stuff underneath, making use of the space, and now going vertically instead of widthways, which is another interesting way, and like I said, creates height. See, all these tips kind of fit together. Now, the first, my biggest tip, and this is one that I'm really working on, and I've started it with the construction area, and there's so many ways you can do it, is creating a story in your city and almost creating mini stories. Now, this could be something just like the Daily Bugle, where you've got lots of kind of fighting and like Spider-Man fighting all the villains. That's a story. And you've got the Sanctum, and those are stories that come with the sets that you already have. But it's also nice creating your own stories, such as I've got my construction area, I've got lots of builders and stuff, and I'm going to add more and make it kind of develop more. So each week it's going to develop and develop and develop. There'll be lots of different things happening, and it also gives me time to kind of work on my hospital as well, and it means I don't have to rush building my hospital because I have the story of the construction men building stuff. And this could also be adding minifigures just in different areas that link to other minifigures that link to other areas. You could have a kind of crime wave, and the police are trying to find all the criminals, and the criminals are hiding in the buildings. That's a really good way, and it's something that not everyone will see unless you look into them or really look carefully, but you know they're there, and it creates your city your own. And you can do it anywhere in your city, which is a really good way of doing it. And you can create it as big or as small as you want. It could literally just be two minifigures talking to each other or fighting, or it could be a big thing that happens all the way around your city, which is something I love to do and I really want to do. So those are my top 5 tips for building a city and for having a city. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, please do subscribe. It will really help me out a lot, and please do like the video as well. That's all from me, and I'll see you in the next video, guys. Bye.